Hey everybody, welcome back to Diet Doctor YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Brett Scher, the medical director at dietdoctor.com. Now I know a lot of people, you in particular, may be confused about dietary cholesterol. Maybe not, but let's face it, we have been told for decades that we need to avoid dietary cholesterol. It's been part of our dietary guidelines for decades as well. But with the more recent updates to the dietary guidelines, there was a quote put in there that dietary cholesterol is no longer a nutrient of concern into our dietary guidelines. But yet, groups such as the American Heart Association, and particularly those concerned with cardiovascular health, say we still need to limit dietary cholesterol. Well, I can see how that could be very confusing for you, right? Like, well, what is it? Do we have to worry about or don't we have to worry about? There was a recent publication from the American Heart Association, a scientific update on dietary cholesterol. And we wrote about this recently at dietdoctor.com. And on the one hand, this seemed like it was going to be very encouraging, a new look at the science behind dietary cholesterol and whether or not that has any relationship to cardiovascular risk. And as I'm reading through this, I'm starting to see some very encouraging points. They talk about how the study here, actually I'll read some quotes from it. Our meta-regression analysis using data from controlled feeding studies, so an analysis of controlled studies, not just these observational studies, but actual controlled studies. So when they're indicate that dietary cholesterol increases total cholesterol, but the findings were not significant for the stronger predictor of cardiovascular risk, LDL cholesterol or HDL cholesterol. So basically what they're saying is they realize that the studies show that total cholesterol may go up, but cardiovascular risk does not necessarily go up because HDL goes up and LDL may or may not go up. So it's not an automatic that this increases cardiovascular risk. They also show that findings from observational studies have not generally supported an association between dietary cholesterol and cardiovascular risk. So they're looking through the science and they're providing plenty of examples of how the science doesn't support the hypothesis that dietary cholesterol increases cardiovascular risk. So they're leading me on this journey that I'm getting excited that finally the AHA has seen the light and they're going to come to the conclusion that we don't need to worry about dietary cholesterol. But what's their conclusion? Let's get to it here. Their conclusion is consumers are advised to eat a dietary pattern characterized by fruits, vegetables, whole grains, low-fat or fat-free dairy products, lean protein sources, nuts, seeds, and vegetable oils, consistent with those recommended in the dietary guidelines. Wow. How do they get from point A of showing the science that dietary cholesterol does not increase cardiovascular risk and is not really a concern, to then concluding that we need to eat this diet that's low in dietary cholesterol? That's this complete disconnect that I would expect to see from observational pieces, from documentaries that are basically one-sided propaganda pieces. That's not what I would expect from a scientific advisory post, an article from a science-based group that says this is a science advisory post. I was pretty disappointed by this and surprised by it. You know, maybe I should be a little more jaded and not be surprised by it because I know plenty of people weren't surprised by it. It's doubling down on the same old dogma, but trying to veil it behind science. And that's where I get confused. So anyway, I apologize for this being rambling, but I get a little emotional about it because I know you are confused by this, right? I know the everyday person is probably very confused. Well, the American Heart Association says I need to avoid dietary cholesterol and eat these low-fat, low-cholesterol foods, but yet the science doesn't support it. So we need to get a greater connection between what the science says, between what high-quality science says, and what our general recommendations are. So, I mean, go to dietdoctor.com. We have so many guides, so much information for you to tell you what the high-quality science behind saturated fats, behind whole grains, behind cholesterol in our bloodstream, to kind of help you see the connection between the science and what the recommendations are and maybe what they should be. But this was a poor display by the American Heart Association that I hope everybody can see through. Notice the science, they say. notice the science does not support the risk of dietary cholesterol. All right. Thanks for joining. Thanks for taking the time to watch this. Hopefully this will help you understand a little bit more about dietary cholesterol, and we will see you again next time at Diet Doctor.